Sweet Derek, are we live?
We are live, coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada. This is the Naturals Pod.
Welcome to this episode of the Naturals Podcast. As always, respectfully, I'm Uncle Kyle, seated across from me on the sticks, Sweet Derek, the producer.
Hello, world.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, is an eventful day, for we have our first guest. He is a regular international man of mystery. He speaks 3 languages. He's traveled the world over. Former racing, driving instructor, and currently in nightlife management, Julien Le Tohic. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, Uncle Cal, for that wonderful introduction. Could I take you on one of my dates with me and you introduce me to the girl like that?
Absolutely.
Because, man, that was good, man.
So do you
I can't
want
introduce
it
myself that good, man.
hype man style, or do
I
you
love
want me
it.
at the door like as like an event caller, like if you were going to a royal bar? Sir, Julien Le Tohic.
Something like that, yeah. That's definitely going to be helpful.
All right, just call me up, buddy. I'll be your man for that.
Love
no
it.
questions asked.
No, thank you so much for having me, man. It's kind of cool. I've never done a podcast before, too, so it was another first, right?
Yeah. We're breaking each other in gently, though. Gently.
Ooh. Buy me
So-
dinner first.
We'll have Derek throw up the clip.
Hi, welcome to the Speed Vegas Motorsports Park. Let me show you around. The Speed Vegas Motorsports Park offers 3 main activities. Exotics Racing, which is the world's largest supercar driving experience. Vegas Supercars, which is our outdoor go-kart experience. And Vegas Off-Road, where you get to drive an off-road truck on the dirt track or take a guided tour through the desert. The driving center is open every day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. except on Christmas Day. The staff office is open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And with direct access from the I-15, we are located only 15 minutes away from the Strip. Exotics Racing, the world's original and largest supercar driving experience.
Because you shot a commercial for the place that you were formerly working for, which is Speed Vegas, correct?
Yeah. They called me up. I worked there for 5 years as a racing instructor, and I left on really good terms. I just wanted to move on and see what else I could do with my life.
Absolutely.
But no, I'm still very good friends with everybody that works there, and they called me out of the blue and they said, "Hey, listen, we're doing some renovations to the company." They sort of merged with another company to become an even bigger motorsports park, and they needed someone to do an introduction video, kind of talk about the whole company.
It was there was another one out there. Was it Exotics Racing? Did they essentially absorb them? I'd always thought that was kind of crazy that there was 2 of those places renting the super high end cars that you could go out and race. But apparently,
Yeah, that's exactly what it
one
was.
was doing better than the other.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it was the better move for both of them, because now they kind of monopolize the entire motorsports industry in Las Vegas. So they're kind of like the big dog now. There's not really
Absolutely.
anybody that comes close to them. So they did a really great job at that. And so that's why I said yes, I would love to help them out. And so I came in and it took us about 4 hours to shoot it. But it was just a lot of fun seeing all my old coworkers and talking about all the cars I used to drive. So it was a really cool thing. So
Did you do anything crazy like John Woo style? Have doves fly in from the background and then the Ferrari just peels out around a corner?
kind of like Tom Cruise doing my own stunts.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
Well, I didn't.
You got to be the one to do it too. You got to come around the corner, tire smoke. You get out. You got the flame retardant suit on. You pull the helmet off, and you're like Speed Vegas.
That's going to be a good idea for the next video. I might ask them if I can do that.
I'll be a consultant on the follow-up.
Because I did not look as nearly as cool as what you just mentioned. So that's definitely an idea for the next video. We'll keep that in mind because, that Tom Cruise stuff, that's my jam.
It's great. Check it out on his Instagram. We'll have Sweet Derek put that up right there. So if you had to pick one favorite car out of all of them, because they have Ferraris, Lamborghinis, did they have any of the crazy super high-end supercars like the Bugatti or the this is how you know I'm poor. I don't know the names of any.
Like a
of the
McLaren
crazy
or
ones.
something?
Sure,
Yeah.
McLaren. Thank you, Sweet Derek. Bring it in. Help me.
Do you guys have any high-end Altimas or Corollas?
Yeah, I need the Civic. I can afford that if I crash it into a wall.
In 2001, perhaps they would have, But no, so the way it works is that all the cars obviously are insured, but you can't have cars like, those Paganis or like Bugattis, because they're just so damn expensive that just to insure them, they wouldn't really be able to get the money back on their investment because they're just way too expensive to insure. If something bad happens on a Bugatti Veyron, I mean, those things are $2.5 million, sometimes more.
Yeah, and a lot of those people strictly just buy them and just like a piece of art. It just sits there because of that. Because you have to get like a private insurance company, someone who's willing to take on that kind of a risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Cars like, $5 million or whatever.
Exactly. But the fact that when they buy these cars, they're getting just wrecked all day long. These guys are driving because you don't just drive it around the parking lot. You're driving around an actual racetrack with straights and turns. So you're really getting the feel of what an actual race car driver feels. So these cars are going through a lot of pain over the years. So that's just something that's just not feasible for them. But they still have amazing cars. They have all the high-end Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsche, Nissan GTR. So it's truly a beautiful, beautiful thing that they have over there.
Yeah. So clearly they do correct me if I'm wrong. Do they have a mechanic who works on their stuff? Because I mean, that is the real cost on those cars. Is if you're going to drive them like that, you have to be prepared to maintain them, change the oil,
100%.
Change the brakes. Which like on my car, I could change the brakes for $600 on all four corners if I do it myself. But on one of those cars, you're probably paying $20,000 or something insane to get it fixed.
Absolutely, they have a whole team of mechanics on track at all times to make sure that all these cars are running well and then they're safe for people to drive. So no, their safety is that's where they spend the most money, is on safety. They take a lot of pride in that, on being one of the safest places to race. And it really shows because they're just doing an incredible job with that, having all the like world-class instructors and team of mechanics. They just kill it. And I mean, they've got all the material, so there's not really any issues on that end.
Have you been in a car with someone and they just completely just smashed into a wall?
I was waiting for that one. It's a
terrible question to ask.
No, it's a good
clearly he
one.
survived it if it did, but
this is a good one because when I first started working there, this is the thing. I was at a barbecue. This is a good story. I was at a barbecue with some French people, blah, blah, some French. And I had just gotten back from LA. I got fired from a bartending job in LA. So I ran out of cash. So I was like, I'm going to just go back to Vegas and figure things out. And I didn't have a job. And so I met these guys that owned Exotics Racing at the time. And they were like, oh, yeah, we're doing well. And I asked them, oh, that's cool. Like, what's your business about? And they said, oh, we own this racing car company. People come and race exotic vehicles. And I said, oh, that's cool. And that's neat. He's like, yeah, the only problem right now is that we have so many Brazilian tourists coming in to drive it. We don't have anybody that speaks Portuguese. And in my head, I'm like, well, I speak Portuguese. So should I just shoot my shot? And so I did. I was like, oh, that's strange. I speak Portuguese, but I mean, they're like, and their eyes just went, they're like, you speak Portuguese, man, fluently? I was like, yeah. My mom's Brazilian. I've been there a million times,
So what
He's
are the
usually doing that for the
Brazilian
ladies.
ballers? Go ahead, Sweet Derek. Oh,
Why are you interrupting, Sweet Derek?
I bet I said I said you're usually doing it for the ladies when you're speaking.
Usually, no. Usually the French is for the ladies.
Okay,
the
okay.
Brazilian is to pretend that I'm good at soccer, even though I'm not.
I mean, I feel like the Portuguese comes in handy too.
Well, that time it did. That time it really did, because they were like, "Would you want to work with us as a racing instructor?" And I said, "Listen, man, I don't even know how to drive stick. I have zero experience."
Well, fortunately, a lot of the higher end ones, especially now, most of them come with automatic gearboxes,
Right.
or they have the paddle shifters on
They
there.
all
which
have
still,
paddle
in
shifters.
a sense,
But still, I
manually
had
shifting the
zero
car.
experience.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm a bartender, man. And they said, dude, we'll teach you. We need someone desperately that speaks Portuguese. We will teach you. And I spent literally my first day at work, and then for the next month, every day I was coming into work just driving all these cars.
Driving sick cars. Wow, what a nightmare. What a terrible job to start.
Can you imagine? That was my training. Like, literally, I sat in the car all day. It was like, this is how you race. This is how you do it. You got your braking points. You got the movement of the car, the weight in the front. That's when you turn, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just learned racing for an entire month.
Yeah, because when you're an instructor there and you're taking the client and they're in the passenger seat, you're supposed to kind of wow them and really show them what the car is capable of.
Exactly.
And get a little wild with it. So I would be super nervous doing that. I Could never. I could be so wealthy and I would never buy a Ferrari because I'm like, I would put this thing into a wall.
That's why I was pretty nervous my
Or-
first time. Imagine my first time, I get some Australian kid, comes in. He's like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm like, yeah, me too, man. And he's like, oh, you've been doing this a long time? I'm like, oh, yeah, I've been doing this forever, man. It was the first guy I was taking out.
It's good that you lied, though. I mean, I feel like in that situation, it's not as scary if, like, your pilot was like, first day on the job.
I'd be like, yeah, no, it's my first day. And
Hope
a
we
month
make
ago, I
it.
was slinging cocktails in Hollywood, But, yeah, let's do this.
Last night, I was making Manhattans. Today, 360 donuts.
There you go.
Hope
Krispy
you're ready
Kreme.
to learn the new meaning of speed. That's awesome, though, man.
And that's how the rest is history.
I'm just far too reckless to have a job like that. Their insurance would immediately double if I stepped out there. Fun fact, I got dropped from State Farm. How dare you, State Farm? I paid my premiums. And it wasn't even over an accident. I got a ticket, and apparently that crossed the threshold of whatever score sheet I had run up, and they were like, we're done with you. Shout out to Progressive.
The ball's on them.
The real winners in the insurance game.
So I have to know, though, because you said the Australian guy. Who crashed into a wall? Is that the guy?
Was
Oh,
that
no,
him?
no.
Okay, we had to get
Oh,
back
shit.
to the wall
So
crashing.
the
I still
Australian
got to
guy did
know.
okay
I
day
got to know
one.
who crashed into the wall,
How
dude.
deep
Come on.
into the racing instructing were you at the point that somebody crashed? Was this a surprise for both of you? Or
Actually, I got pretty lucky in my 5 years there because none of my students have crashed. I've gotten some off-roads before because the brakes have given out on me.
yeah.
But
I
it
would
was
imagine
never...
they get like really hot when you're hitting all kinds of turns and you're repeatedly using them, and then you just
yeah.
hopefully slide into some gravel that doesn't ding and scratch the
Well,
paint
that's
entirely.
that's exactly what happened. Like it kind of went off because the brakes went out. It happened sometimes, and then we kind of went on in a gravel pit, and nothing happened to the car. Nothing happened to us. So again, like their safety is insane. It's like
As it
they're
should
really,
be.
really good on that. Now, the one who almost crashed the car was me, actually. And they still talk about it 5 years later. I'm sort of like a living legend over there. It's like,
So
oh,
were
you remember
you
that one time?
showboating? Were you showboating, or were you did you just lose control?
I lost control. It was actually it's crazy because every time I show up there, they still talk about it. They're like, hey, remember Julien almost crashed that Porsche?
The shame you'll never live down.
Oh my
What
God.
kind of Porsche?
It was a Porsche Cayman. So it's like the easiest car to drive. man.
Yeah.
This thing drives itself, literally.
Respectfully, that's a chick Porsche. I saw one of those on the way home, and me and the Condor were riding home, and he goes, it's like the least manliest. If you don't own it, Julian, don't be offended by this.
I am. I'm hurt
And that
because
would've
now
been the
I don't
one
want to
crash,
follow with the
honestly,
story.
right?
I don't want to follow the story of me almost crashing it. But no, it was raining, and so when it rains, we as instructors, we take all the cars out on the track, and we ride the same line to kind of like move the water out of the way and dry out the driving section of the track.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. So we were drying it out, taking laps, and at one point I see this Audi R8 in front of me, sort of picking up speed. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pick up some speed too. It must be drying out. And so I hit this massive puddle, man. And all of a sudden the car just, and then boom, I'm off on the side of the road, man, and I'm going about maybe 80, 90 miles an hour.
Oh boy.
And I'm about to hit this massive pole, this massive light pole I'm headed straight towards. So I got to do some kind of maneuver. So I had to like kind of yank the wheel right and left to kind of get the car to veer away from it and sort of
not
around.
just slide right into it.
And somehow I managed to do it. So I managed to get the Porsche kind of like drifting around the pole. So I saved the Porsche and I saved my job.
And then you get out and you go, did it on purpose, didn't hit the pole. You see my drift there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But the stain in my pants would have said otherwise.
That's what I was going to say. When you got out of the car, was there a crease in the middle of the seat where your ass cheeks had clinched the hardest they've ever clinched in your life?
There's definitely a crease in my self-worth.
Hey, man, you made it. And now we get to have a funny story about it. So I remember that we watched the Super Bowl together a couple years ago.
Yeah, we did.
Are you, I can't remember, are you a football guy? And if you are, who is your team?
To be honest with you, I'm not, but I do enjoy. I was raised in France, so it was always soccer.
Or football.
That's right.
Respect it.
I'm saying
If
soccer
you
to
went-
respect
If you went
Americans.
to the motherland and called it soccer, oh, they'd have your ass.
100%. I'm saying it as a respect to your American viewers.
Oh, okay, fine. Respect. That's fine.
But no, I like football, the American football, but I don't really specifically have a team. I guess I'm supposed to like the Raiders since I live in Vegas.
Sure. But
So-
you're a casual enjoyer, you would say. Much like
Yeah.
if I watched what do they call it in France? Do they call it foot? I sound
Foot.
so ignorant. So just football.
Foot.
Foot. That's it in
Yeah,
France.
we shorten it like that. Man.
Love the French, man. Just keeping it
watch
short
some
and
foot.
sweet. You don't even got to do the bowl. You just go foot. That's it.
That's it, man.
So do you watch Premier League? Because I know there's like a bunch of different leagues. Do you watch Premier League soccer? Do you have a favorite team? Do you watch France when they obviously you must when they do the World
Okay,
Cup?
so when I'm going to talk to you about the
Is
World
that a sore
Cup, man.
subject right now?
The World Cup it's still very sore because I do when the World Cup starts, my life stops. Like that's all I do. It's like, okay, I'm on my phone checking scores. I'm seeing which country is doing well, and I'm obviously following my countries, which is France and Brazil and US too. No,
I mean, but the USA men's are never going to win it, right? Like we're just not on the same level.
I wouldn't say never. No, you know,
Unlikely.
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I think Americans are just really blowing up in any sports they want. You know, if they really start focusing on it, especially now that Messi has joined the MLS. The MLS is
And he is just destroying them like a group
Oh,
of
my
high
God.
schoolers. Like
Unreal.
I guarantee you, he's just like, this is the easiest money I've ever made in my career. Because none of the guys that the MLS like all the guys who are big football, soccer, don't come for me. Players, they're all playing in the Premier League, or they're playing for some big cocked oil prince in Saudi Arabia. What was the one guy that got that giant contract recently?
Kylian Mbappe. He was offered.
Which was it's like $1 billion or something.
Yeah,
isn't
but
it?
he was offered $1 billion for 1 year.
Insane.
That's
Insane.
That's like $100 million per month. Like that's unbelievable. No one's been offered that. But what Messi did is nothing short of incredible, man. Because when he came in, Miami hadn't won a single game.
And he scored like every game.
Every
Are they
single
getting
game.
ready to do their?
Every single game.
Because like, do they do a tournament?
They're doing the national MLS tournament, but
is it
he's
like single elim? Like it's like a bracket style single elim, or do
kind
they have
of yeah? It's
pools
like a
the World Cup?
championship, you know, who has more points at the end.
Oh, okay.
But he's won them every. They're undefeated now. As soon as he came,
That's what I'm saying. He's crushing it because
Unbelievable.
I am not even somebody that really follows football respectfully, but that has been popping up on my phone so much because he just showed up and immediately crushed it for them.
But it's also because the deal that he made with Miami and the MLS is something that's never been done before. It's a completely new approach to.
And for those that are uneducated, what was the deal that he struck with them? Because I'm sure it was definitely worth a lot of money because he's considered
sure.
one of the greatest players, even though he's still currently playing ever. Like
Well, at first, originally, he was offered a lot more money to play in Saudi Arabia.
yeah, because those guys
been-
have unlimited money.
They've been taking all the good players. You know, Ronaldo, Neymar, all these guys.
And they have that golf league. What the hell is that called, Derek? The other one that they're doing?
Oh yeah, the one that's been in controversy with the PGA Tour.
Wasn't it didn't Phil Mickelson cross or something? Like they're making insane amounts of money.
Yeah,
doing
some of them
this.
changed, but Messi looks like he did an agreement worth up to 150 million over 2.5 years
Yeah.
before additional compensation
Insane.
from MLS partners Adidas and Apple. So
Exactly. So
Crazy.
that's the thing. Like Apple bought the rights to MLS, right? So if you want to watch MLS, you got to get an Apple subscription. Now Apple is
Smart.
going to be paying Messi to be a part of that, and not only is Apple paying him, he's going to get merchandise payments from the MLS as well. Meaning, if I buy an LA Galaxy jersey, Messi's
He's
getting paid in Miami.
So essentially, he has a partnership agreement with them.
with everything, and he's got also part ownership of the Miami club. So
Yeah.
he's got money. Like if he would have played in Saudi Arabia, he would have got a big check from one entity, and that's it. But over here, he's getting part ownership there with Miami.
He's got
from
equity,
Apple.
and they're cutting
He's
him
getting
a big
paid
check,
from MLS.
so he's
It's unreal.
set forever.
Oh, he's gonna retire a billionaire with all the endorsements that he's doing with Hard Rock Cafes and Nike and all that. Like it's unreal. Because I think European soccer is massive. It's all over the world, right? And MLS has sort of like been lagging behind. But I think that Messi coming in here could be a catalyst, and soccer could become a huge thing in the U.S.
Yeah.
Obviously right now.
I feel like it's really slept on in the United States. I personally am not a fan of it, but I
Yeah.
could see that it's growing. Clearly, it's growing. If they get somebody like him to come over here, for me, I think the difference between him playing here versus in the Premier League is obviously he's going to be able to expand upon his legacy if he keeps playing there. Versus here, I respect what he's doing because he's trying to build soccer up to be as soccer or football. Don't come for me. as big as it is in in the UK, Europe. I mean, soccer is worldwide. Soccer definitely has the farthest, in my opinion, soccer and apparently cricket is huge.
Really?
Have, I mean, it's the national sport of India, and there is, correct me if I'm wrong, like 300 million of them, or a billion. Look it up, Derek. I don't know. I don't want to be incorrect about this. I need to know how many people there are in India. But anyways, like I said, I respect the move because essentially he's trying to build something. He could just stay, continue playing in the Premier League.
Yeah.
The 1.4 billion, go India. Holy cow. Wow. That is an insane amount of people. All right.
The only one that beats him is China. Other than that, it's
So yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's cool. And I've seen a lot of interviews and just out of genuine interest Googled him a lot, which is like, you know, you got to take everything that you read with a grain of salt or consider the source before you take it a certain way. But I feel like he is genuinely a good dude. He seems like a good guy to me. So
I think he has
feel like
autism. You heard about that? Like he has like
that's
autism
out of
or
left
something?
field. Autism.
Yeah, he was diagnosed with autism. Like he's got something, and you can tell like when he talks to people, he's always a little awkward. You know.
What's the position that he plays?
I think he's a midfielder.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be a world-class midfielder and you aren't on the spectrum, you will not get there. Okay, Messi is our example. I've never heard of that before. That's
he doesn't cheat on his girl too. They've been together since he was like 13. Like it's unreal.
That's one of the things I read, and I'm like, solid guy. I like this guy. Faithful, loyal, ultra rich.
He's better than all of us.
One of the best. What a guy.
Most definitely.
So the reason I brought up football is I remember we were watching the Super Bowl with the Rams and the Bengals, and because how heavily would you say you're into the crypto? Would you say that's a large investment for you, or is it something that you are experimenting with, or something?
Oh no, it's the only investment for me.
Okay,
man.
the only investment.
I know why you're bringing this up now. I know why.
So,
I know where you're going with this.
Ladies and gentlemen, during the Super Bowl with the Bengals and the Rams, if you didn't know, they had a commercial for, what was it, crypto.com or was it
Coinbase?
Coinbase. So this man, while he was enjoying the game, was consistently checking his phone because I guess with the crypto market, this commercial dropping could have a huge effect on the value of all coins, certain coins.
Boy, was I wrong.
More of the top level coins. But the crazy thing is they dropped that commercial, and wasn't it just a QR code, and it crashed their website because so many people were clicking on it and downloading it. And I thought that was wild.
I was watching the game and I was really enjoying it. Obviously, I love the Super Bowl. There's so much pressure and the stakes are so high. It's really that's why I love
championship
football.
level sports. Even if I'm not someone who follows the sports, I'll watch cricket. I don't know what the championship of cricket is. Sign me up. If it's the top level and they're going for the world championship, do it.
It's the best, man. You really see people giving their all. But anyways, I was really focused on the commercials that were popping out, and I was waiting. Everybody had talk about these rumors that Coinbase, which was one of the biggest crypto exchange platforms, they were going to drop a commercial during the Super Bowl. I was like, oh, man, and, me being a moon boy,
The most expensive commercial dollar you could possibly pay for, arguably. I don't know how it is in other areas of the world, but I think it's considered the most expensive commercial dollar in the world.
Yeah, it has to be,
money on.
100%.
And I think like maximum they get 60 seconds, right? So they're paying like $10 million for a minute, and that's
you've got at least 100 million viewers, so yeah, you're definitely getting your money's worth.
The strange thing to me is you're always seeing the same ones: Coke, Pepsi, Budweiser, Ram Truck,
Doritos.
Ford Truck, Doritos. Like, how desperate are these people for our attention?
And movies.
Clearly, you have Clearly, you have a popular product. How badly do you need to advertise it? At this point, I feel like it's a flex for them. Like, I spent $10 million when I didn't even need to.
Bud Light is going to really need to step it up.
They are. Bud Light has had a bad year. They have been going through it.
They're going to be asking for Super Bowl discounts, I think, with the year that they've had.
Those 2 decades that we advertise with you, can we get like a slight rebate on that this time? Maybe a free one. We've been loyal.
Give me a freebie.
To you.
Yeah, I doubt it. Not for the Super Bowl.
No.
It's going to be, they're going to have to pony up. But no, I was terribly wrong about that. It didn't really do anything for the price. You know, people just get excited about new because crypto is so new, so they get excited when something cool happens. But I think now what I'm and a lot of crypto investors are waiting for is the Bitcoin spot ETF that BlackRock is trying to put in the market.
BlackRock controls the world, apparently.
Right. If you don't know BlackRock has about maybe $10 trillion worth of assets. They control like all the major companies. They own like 25% of the media.
So the funniest thing about Bitcoin is literally, and I hate when people use this word,
Literally
10 years ago, it might have been a little longer, I was standing outside of a comic book shop where I played Magic the Gathering cards, and we can get into that later. And this guy who was just the quintessential comic book shop nerd, long greasy hair, glasses, little stinky, goes, man, if you took $1,000 10 years ago, Julian, if you took $1,000 right now and just bought Bitcoin, in 10 years, you'll be a millionaire. And I was like, that sounds like absolute bullshit. And if there is one regret I have in my life, it is not trusting this random stranger, because he was right. If I had put I wish I could go back. That honestly, time machine scenario in the DeLorean, Back to the Future, Marty McFly. I'm going back to that moment and being like, get $1,000 and do it right fucking now. Don't wait.
I play that game in the shower all the time when I'm crying. When I'm sitting there crying and I'm like, man. It's do you remember the video game back then? It was called StarCraft.
Shout out to StarCraft. Yes, I do. Never played StarCraft, but I know.
Okay,
StarCraft.
well, check this out. I saw this picture the other day on Facebook, and it was a flyer and it was back from 2011, I think, or 2010, and it was a StarCraft flyer for a tournament, a StarCraft tournament, and the first prize, there was 3 prizes. The first prize was $200. The second prize was $100, and the third place was 100 Bitcoins.
100?
I shit you not, man.
100?
100 Bitcoins. You know how much that worth today?
But see,
you want to pull it up there? Actually, I can tell you that would be worth $2.5 million.
That's it for 100 of them?
Yeah, Bitcoin's about 25 grand a pop right now.
Oh, okay. Well, still
$2.5 million.
Mil ain't nothing to shake a
Can
stick
you imagine?
at. But at the same time, I know me, and I know that at some point when it did like a good little jump, I'd be like, hell yeah, made money.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the key. Is
we
like,
all say that,
you have to hold, and then it's like you have to know when you're at your peak and get out, so it doesn't just go.
Exactly.
Because there was some guy who went crazy when the Dogecoin was a thing.
Oh, but Dogecoin is nothing. Did you hear about Shiba Inu?
Yeah, but it's a meme coin essentially. Like there isn't any kind of utility or anything that they're doing behind it. It just is
Shiba a little, but I mean, Shiba was the biggest grower in the history of crypto. I even made a few coins on that.
Or it could have been Shiba, but it was one of them. He had gotten in at the bottom and just bought a ton of them as a joke, and then it went up. And I think he had $3 million worth, and he got interviewed, not necessarily by a news service, but by internet people who were like, sell it.
Yeah, that's huge money.
You're not a wealthy person. That could immediately set you up. And then it's like, the whole point at that point is you get the $3 million. Maybe you do some real estate investments or put it into something that is a little more stable than the crypto. I mean, that's my reservations with it.
I think one of the funniest stories ever.
But long story short, he lost. That shit went back down, and he could have had $3 million, but then it went boom.
But you didn't hear about that guy who invested early in Shiba Inu. That was the biggest trade in the history of the world, and that happened in 2021.
The biggest cryptocurrency
it's the biggest crypto trade.
Oh, okay.
The biggest upset in the history, and everyone was making, because it was during the same time as that GameStop and AMC fiasco.
Yeah, that shit was hilarious. But shout out to Wall Street Bets. That shit
there
was
you go.
So
Shout out big time. Yeah, seriously. Thank you for paying for my Mexico trip.
Thanks for the vacay.
True story. I bought
SEC.
AMC at $7, sold at $70.
Oh wow. In
a month or two. It was insane. So thank you Wall Street Bets.
I still think one of the craziest stories is when this guy Alonzo Hayens paid 10,000 Bitcoins for 2
pizza.
Papa John's pizzas, dude.
It's $100 million pizza, buddy.
Here's the thing. You can't be speculative about one's own life, because if you're thinking about that constantly, you're going to want to go jump off a building.
Oh, you want to hear something crazy?
Or at least
you want to hear
would.
something crazy? Here you go. This guy, when Shiba Inu started off, he was one of the very first investors in it. He put $8,000 into it, which is
must
huge.
have been an insane amount of coins.
It's huge
at the time.
because I bought in the coin when maybe 6 months after it launched, and I bought maybe $800 worth. And after a month, I made $12,000 with that coin. It was crazy. That paid for my. I went to fucking Europe and Brazil with that money. It was insane. But this guy,
You should have bought a Shiba Inu. I mean, that was your opportunity.
You're
$12K.
right.
I don't know how expensive a Shiba
well,
Inu
I'm just gonna
is.
fucking
but
rescue one, man. But no, I saw this guy, man. He bought 8,000 in November of 2020. About $8,000 worth, and he a year later, so November 2021. Guess how much his $8,000 was worth?
I couldn't even, because that went.
You
Didn't
wouldn't
that
even-
literally go from like a small fraction of a cent up to being a couple of bucks, or
So it went
even
from
more?
it went from like 10 zeros to like 5 or 4.
which is
is massive.
mathematically is a huge
It's-
leap.
it
It
was
doesn't
like-
even matter if it gets to a cent. I mean,
It was
would be
like
great.
times 10 million, maybe times. No, but that's the times it went up. So this guy, his $8,000 after a whole year was worth $5.6 billion.
Ooh. But how do you get that out? Like, could you feasibly
Exactly, you
just
can't.
cash it out and be like, okay, give me that?
Not all at once, because there's
Could you
not
even
enough
get like
liquidity.
a sizable chunk of that?
Sure,
at
yeah.
once? How big?
He can get a big chunk, but the thing is that he owns so much of it that it would have completely
It would
crashed.
tank the value of the rest of it. Oh shit!
So as
that
he's
is
cashing
the
out-
worst, man. Like you
As
got
you're
a lot.
cashing out, the price is dropping because of you.
Oh, God,
Because of you.
That hurts.
It's like being Jeff Bezos. You want to unload all your shares of Amazon, you can't, because it's going to make the price tank, and your shares are going to tank. So you had to take him out super slow like that, and he still has a shit ton of it. But imagine having that problem. You have too much money, you can't take it out.
Honestly, I would live life on credit and just try to essentially just make the payments with the Shiba and pray that it never just goes to 0 to the 27th power to where you have
Exactly.
nothing. But
But he was still able to take out. He took out a bunch of small chunk. He took out probably hundreds of millions out of it. So
so he's
sure-
he's clearly
I'm sure he's doing all
balling.
right. He'll
Still
never
balling off it.
be able
Never
to pull
worked
out
again.
everything at that price. But
He's never gonna have to work again.
No.
Still, like, you don't even at that point you don't give a fuck about 5 billion. You're like, if I can get 100 milli, fine. I'm never working again.
living that Bilzerian life already, man.
Yeah. That guy's a liar, though. Right? Isn't he? He has the stupidest haircut of all time right now. Pull that up, Derek. He has a super wide. I can see why some people kind of admire him or idolize him, because he is a big, jacked, cocky motherfucker. And clearly, I mean,
He's good at promoting his image, but I
yeah,
think
the jury's out on it, because aren't most of those girls, and I don't mean this in a
you do.
non-classy way, but aren't they like paid for? Aren't they essentially like hired models who are just cultivating this image that he's like a rich playboy ladies man? Or are they ones that genuinely want to hang out with him, and apparently fucks a lot of them and does cocaine to the verge of his heart exploding, and still has a six-pack though? Crushing it, Dan.
doing well. I don't think they would go in there for free, though, to be honest with you.
No. I mean,
I think there's
at a certain point, they're trying to enjoy the lifestyle. They want to go on the private plane, so
But
they might
there's
not be
a-
overtly getting paid, but they certainly aren't paying for shit when they're with him.
there's definitely a quid pro quo somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, most
For those of you at home, that's a you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Also a non-verbal agreement. Although I'm sure he would get verbal about it if he wasn't getting what he wanted.
pretty much.
Oh
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, the only crypto that I dabbled in was XRP, which I'm sure you're familiar with because you're someone who's on the scene with the crypto. But that was never anything that was really meant to explode. They're trying to essentially make a bridge currency that they call it, where you could essentially use it anywhere in the world. So if you had that on you, you have money anywhere and you can pay for anything anywhere you go.
Yeah, that's for most cryptos, though. XRP is trying to really break into the banking system mostly. Bitcoin is good for people like you and me. like if I want to send you money and you're in Australia, for example, I don't have to go to the bank, give the money, pay the fees. Then you have to go to the bank, go pay the fee, go get the money.
Yeah, exactly. You're just good to go.
I can just send you Bitcoin anywhere in the world. But XRP is dealt for bigger enterprises, for like the big banking system is trying to replace SWIFT, which is the payment system that's used to transfer money around the world.
I got read into that, but essentially I got talked into it. I think I still hold like 1,000 coins. I have them on a hard wallet in a safe, but I'm just like, I don't know if I'll ever do anything about these. And every once in a while I Google it and I'm like, will this reach $10? Because I'm trying to do the Mexico vacation with it. You know what I'm saying? At least if it does something. But
we're all living that hopeful dream, man.
God.
But yeah, it should blow up, man. I mean, every 4 years, like Bitcoin is cyclical, so every 4 years,
the bull run, right? That's
there's
what they
halving.
call it when it's
a bull run.
havoc.
Exactly.
Haven't heard of that.
Halving is every 4 years. It happens with Bitcoin.
Halving.
So you know how Bitcoin is? People acquire Bitcoin through mining.
Correct.
So they mine Bitcoin through fixing complex equations online through coding.
They're like it's essentially completing a transaction. It's doing something and you get rewarded for doing it.
Exactly. But the rewarding compounds get cut in half every 4 years, so it becomes more valuable because there's less of it being distributed.
Exactly.
So it's deflationary. Yes. Unlike our U.S. dollar, which is printed every damn second, this is deflationary. So it's becoming worth more as the time goes because there's less of it.
Nah. Well, I mean, our government needs to continue to go to pointless wars and give money to the military-industrial complex. I could go on about it all night. Anyways, it's been just great having this random assortment of topics with you. We'll definitely have you back on in the future.
This is really fun, man. Thank you.
If you've been listening, purchase cryptocurrency safely. Don't call football soccer.
Do it at your own risk.
Do it at your own risk. And also maybe don't drive supercars in the rain. Or you will risk spinning out towards a light pole.
Or you'll have a great story to tell on Uncle Kyle and Sweet Derek's podcast.
Exactly. Come jump on the pod. Anyways, thanks again, Julian, for showing up. We'll have you on in the future. I'm Uncle Kyle. He's Sweet Derek. We'll catch you guys on the next one. See you later, guys.
Thank you, guys. Later.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Naturals Pod. Please remember to follow us on your Twitter and Instagram accounts at the Naturals Pod. Do you have what it takes to join the Natty Nation? Like and subscribe to find out.